old Zoom, but it's great to know that you're all out there and listening and watching. Now, of course, on Tuesdays, if you're new to this, we do have our diversity series where we talk about all things diversity, inclusion, you name it, we go there. And normally I do have a co-pilot with me in Tiffany Slater, but unfortunately, Tiff couldn't make it today. So I do miss her, but I also get to hog our fabulous guest today all to myself. For those of you who are brand new to this community, welcome. My name is Alex Tullio. I'm the CEO of Financial Executive Women, and we are a membership organisation that is all about the positive progression of women, intentional networks, and deep community. And this is just one of the things that we bring you live 3 days a week. So without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce our guest for today, Margot Ling. Now, for those of you who don't yet know Margot, let me introduce her in terms of her formal bio, and then we're going to get right into a chat. So I love already that one of Margot's mantras is live with passion and live with purpose. Margot founded TCP in 2016 to facilitate cross-border and cross-cultural growth for multinational teams and businesses through training, consulting and partnerships, specialising in technology and media. Margot's greatest assets are her knowledge of and passion for partnerships with excellent Greater China and global networks. She's a dynamic business development executive with a solid track record in clinching numerous well-known China inbound and outbound deals for Fortune 500 media and tech companies, including Twitter, Fox, Dolby, and Eddie Press Group. Now, as a global mindset and growth mindset evangelist, Margot is one of the few certified cultural intelligence facilitators in Greater China from a business background. In recent years, Margot is also a performance and empowerment coach for tech startup CEOs and global executives. Using her unique background in digital media and coaching, she created the A.G.I.L.E, Agile Performance Coaching Model to help clients to achieve sustainable growth. Margot's been a guest speaker in public institutions and universities in Hong Kong. She's also trained a wide range of content partners in the region, including China's state-owned media, international media, and private technology companies. Margot's cross-cultural performance workshop participants over the last year rated their satisfaction at an average of 94%. She speaks English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. Let's get rid of this slide. Margot, where are we going to jump in? Welcome.
Thank you, Alex, for your beautiful introduction about me. It looks like I don't really need to introduce myself anymore.
Yeah, but you know, I love getting in. It's very impressive. Already I was reading through that thinking, gosh, I've got about 10 questions to ask you. But, you know, it's really good. You know, I love to just get in your words. Tell us a bit about you, the stuff that's not in the bio. Give us a bit of the Margot Ling journey.
Yes, I like that. Firstly, hello everyone, and I am Margot, and I'm based in Hong Kong. As Alex has mentioned, my motto is live with passion, live with purpose. I think that is a very important thing about me and why I am here. I love what I do. So in short, my journey, my career journey, I was from totally a media background. So I am a media entrepreneur, but with an X. So what X means to me, X is a cross, meaning of cross. When I started my career, I was in film, and then moving, along to TV, and then digital, and then like cross media, so to say. So cross something, the first time I came across the term cross is really from my own profession, which is a media profession. And then later on, I was working for international companies like US companies, European companies. And then because of the emergence of the market in Greater China, a lot of these companies want to enter China. So I was part of this journey and helping international companies to enter China. So this is, again, something cross, but different one. This is a cross-cultural story. And then later on, I think more recently, I'm moving more towards this cross industry. Mm-hmm. So now I'm working also with academics to bring academics' great insights into practical terms together with some communication skills. So this is, again, another cross story. So I would say, I'm someone with cross.
I love it. And you're the least cross person I've ever met in terms of being cross. Okay, so there's so much to unpack here.
Not the angry one, huh?
Yeah, that's
Not,
right. That's right.
not
She's not the angry cross. It's just there's a lot of cross, and it's so interesting. So the first place I'd love to get into, because I love your motto, of live with purpose and passion. How did you find your passion and your purpose? Because I think for a lot of our community, I think sometimes it takes us a while to try different things and really tap into that, so we're fully aligned, that where everything aligns with our purpose and passion. And for other people, I think they go, nah, I knew from an early age. What was it for you?
I think everything has to be have a journey.
Mm.
Like looking for your passion, looking for your purpose. It really takes time and really takes your experience. You really live your life and find out what you really like. But the most important thing is you have to have your first step, the first step to try something. And actually, I always have a trick. I feel that when you are doing something new, you're not very sure whether it fits you or not. Try to immerse yourself in it. Once you immerse into whether it's a culture, whether is in industry, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new relationship, you just immerse yourself and put 100% of your heart into it and feel it, and then you will kind of get an answer whether you it fits you or not. So I think the first step is really the key.
I love it. And I love that you said and feel it. So I want to come back to that. But so for you then, what was the first step? Did it start, did you always dream of a career in film, or was that just your first steps led you there? Or when did you go, this is my purpose, and this is my purpose in life?
That's a great question. Well, since I was a kid, okay, well, a little girl, I really like storytelling. I really like art. I really like creative things. And part of the reason is because my family is from a music background. Not the pop music type of classical music, Chinese opera. So I was immersed in such an environment, giving me, a lot of training like piano, singing, all these etc. So naturally, my instinct telling me is that okay, I like it. I like these arts, and also I even wrote songs, when I feel bored. So okay, so that will be my path. Naturally, I would think that that would be my path, and so. In university, I picked the discipline that I really love, which is still, film and TV. And afterwards, I feel that okay, what's next of that, or maybe communication, because it's communication. Is also something to do with film, but maybe deeper or some theory things. So I think how it started is because of my instinct, and I try to modify it within that zone. Say maybe film, I couldn't be a great, I can't be Steven Spielberg, so too bad. So okay, maybe I could be someone for TV, or maybe I could someone for digital at the end. So I try to modify along the way, but I would try to keep my passion and not to give up and just modify. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I love, do you know what makes me laugh is sometimes when I'm going to say this, when young people, now I'm sounding old, when young people ask me about how I mapped out my career journey, and I feel like sometimes they're disappointed, because my experience is that I never had this clear, this linear path, right? I kind of knew what I liked, and then I tried different things, and then an opportunity came, so I jumped to that opportunity. And so my kind of progression is, I love how you say it's kind of modifying and testing what works and what you like, and it sounds like has your career been linear, or has it been in the moment doing things and opportunities come up and you've grabbed that? How's that been for you?
Yes. If from a more conventional type of recruiter, what people based on a resume, that type of person look at, wow, she's done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They will usually use the word, oh, this really jumpy, really jumpy. No, no, no. But on the other hand, when I show my experience to some entrepreneur or some people who wants to launch something, which nobody has done that before, or nobody have thought about, mixing, A and B together and become a new business, then you think, okay, Margot might be the person who can help out, or, I'll be the person. So I think it's very important to, understand your strength, and also, get some more feedback from people, like who you really are. And then don't be afraid of trying new things, because I sometimes when younger friends ask me, so, oh, I don't really know what I need to do, and I'm kind of like very confused, and then just sit there and think. But what is the thinking or sitting there serving you? That's my next question. So until the time that you try, I mean, it doesn't work, find a better one. I remember Steve Jobs has a saying, just if it doesn't fit you, look for a new one, keep looking. So don't stop there and be discouraged. um, if you fail to do something, you try something, failed, and my recipe would be, okay, of course I'll be sad. Honestly, I would be also, we will cry sad. But okay, after crying, think about what I've learned from that experience, and what I've learned from that experience about myself, and what I can magnify the good things that I have to do something meaningful for the world. So that exercise is important, but I would not suggest to sit there and just think about and not do anything. Action speaks louder than words. So keep looking, keep trying, but don't give up so easily. Keep trying and then modifying, and I think that's my recipe so far. It works. Um, yeah.
I love that. I love that. So tell us a bit about, and you're right, because we do have to, we so-called fail. I think we need to reframe that word. But, we do, and I love that you say reflect on what's that shown you about the situation, about you. Yes, you might have a cry, but then you pick yourself up and go again. Along the way, I mean, you've done so many different things. Can you share any of those moments that you might have had where you said, gosh, okay, that didn't turn out how I thought it would, and then you've literally had to pick yourself up and then go again?
Uh, can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, so share with us some of those, maybe an example of a time when you've literally you thought, gosh, that didn't work, and you've had a bit of a moment where you've had to reflect, and then you've started
Mm.
again because something didn't work.
Yes, I don't understand, because not I need to think about what is the definition of doesn't work. So I think definition of doesn't work for me is it doesn't work at that time.
Yeah.
It doesn't work at that space, or it doesn't work. It's not the right time. It doesn't mean that it will never work that way. So for example, in 2016, it was I think a dilemma in my career, because I was working in a social media platform, and but in my heart, I really want to do something on my own and have the flexibility, and I was struggling. And then and then I took some time and think about whether this is the long-term direction for myself or not. I didn't feel that it was not working out for me working in a big corporation, but I found that maybe there's something better for me, or more suitable for me at that stage, because maybe my age reached a certain maturity, and then also my priority. I have two children, and I want to spend more time with them, and also I want to build something on my own.
Mm.
So at that point, I realized, okay, if it's not, the best option for me, but at the same time, I am confident that I might be able to build something, with my experience, go for it. And then at that point, it was really like the decision point that I am not going back to corporate um, ever again. Even though some recruiters or some people say, "Hey, come join," but once you decided, okay, as what I said in the beginning, is you keep trying, you modify your model, before you give up. So I think not working, meaning that, at that point is not the perfect moment, but it was a perfect moment for me like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But because of other variables, so yeah. So I think it's a courage. It's a courage to step out and be very focused on the mission, on what you really want to do in your life. I always, have that feeling about when I'm really, really confused, and I would just, you do this reverse engineering exercise. I would visualize the Margot in 80 years old, hopefully 80 years old, or more, 80 years old. What do I want to see myself?
Mm.
How do I want to see myself? And very often I see myself as an old lady telling my stories to younger people. And so I thought, okay, if I really want to see that day, what I need to do now? Yeah, I think I should invest more time to create more stories. So create more experience, learning, trying different things, look for the things I like. It's not a problem. So I should do it. So yeah,
I love
it,
this. There is so much wisdom here. I hope you're all listening, because I think, and again, you've said so many things, but earlier on you were just talking about, don't overthink it. Don't kind of be paralyzed in this indecision and the what if and the fear. As you said, actions speak louder. And I think so many of our members in our community do get stuck in that what if it doesn't work. And I think this just comes back to what you're sharing. You've got to, it comes back to your purpose and your passion, doesn't it? About, what actually is giving me energy, what stimulates me, what mark do I want to leave on the world? And I love that you do that visualization. I do that as well. I think it's so powerful. My older self, but I guess it's the same thing. It's you're having a chat with her, and what would she tell you, sort of thing. I think it's amazing how it distills, I think, all the noise, and it brings you back into actually, in 50, 40, 60 years, whatever it is, what am I going to really remember or want to have achieved? And I think it's a beautiful reminder. So Margot, we've got a question from our platform. Thanks. So this is from JR. Thank you. This is really resonating about courage to seek change. Beautiful. Have you had mentors play a central role in guiding your career journey? Great question.
Thank you for the question. Officially, I don't have, a mentor, next to me or meeting regularly, every week or every 2 weeks to, encourage me to do that. But I guess I like to learn from different people. So basically, I would say the mentor for me is my environment, my surrounding, my friends around the world. And I really think that, sometimes we got stuck or we have this fear is because we don't have enough information. Information is very powerful, or, and in another word, is we don't have enough different perspectives to help us to see from another angle. So when I really got stuck or don't know what to do, instead of, because I don't have a mentor, instead of looking for one person, I would try to reach out to people who are very different from me. So the easiest way is to find someone who is not in the same industry, who is not in the same country, not in the same city, and speak with them and see how these people think, and how their life will be, or even not talking about my issues, just chatting with them will give me some ideas. For example, I am in a multicultural family. My husband is a Caucasian and I'm an Asian. And when I was a kid, my mom always say, okay, you must eat rice. If you don't eat rice, you will not grow. But actually, I asked my husband. My husband said, I've never tried rice until I'm 20 years old. And then he's taller than me. So, the learning is that, not just, rice or, there's only one recipe. There are many different ways to solve a problem, or many different ways to step out from your comfort zone. But when you hear more from, different types of people, you see many different solutions. Potato, bread, spaghetti, all works, but you just need the information. That's how I feel. Once you got the information, you feel more secure because that person could do it. Why can't I?
Oh, it's so true, isn't it? Which I think also I want to talk to you about role models as well. But just because I think it's important, that we find people that we can resonate with, that then we go, well, if they can do it, so can I. And it's different for all of us. But I love what you say about mentors, because mentoring is a funny thing, isn't it? I think a lot of people go down, the track of having, you've got to have a formal mentor. And for some people that works. But for me, similar to you, I mean, I've had great mentors in my career, but they've organically happened. It hasn't been, actually, I remember one of my jobs, I early on in the industry, and I was paired with the CFO, who was a man I got along with very, very well, very, very brilliant man. But the CEO, felt that he would be a great mentor. And I still remember today how awkward these mentoring sessions were, as we sat there going, oh, well, we're meant to be doing some sort of, like, it just didn't work in that way. And so I love that you're right, that you've got to have, I think, people around you who are different perspectives and different background and experience that you can dip in and out of and have conversations. I think that regardless of whether any of you listening, have a formal mentor as well, we talk about intentional networks a lot, and that having, people around you. What's your view on having role models? Have you had role models? Do you have role models? Do you have people that you kind of look to and go, yep, if you forge that path, so can I?
Yeah, that's a good question. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean that like mentoring is not useful. Some people feel that it is useful, and also
But it's got
I'm
to be
also
the
a
right,
coach.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm also a coach. So I'm also mentoring some entrepreneurs, or people who want to be entrepreneurs, how to step out from the comfort zone. And this is one of the tactics. And for me, my role model, since my industry, or what I do, I going along the journey. So in different phases of my life, I have different role models or people that I want to learn from. Um, Role model is a very strong word.
Yeah.
Like it's like when we were kids, idol. You really like that person, you want to be that person that look. But I would say that I will focus on one area of characteristics of that person I really like. For example, during my early times from TV moving to digital, and when I did some startups in digital startups in China, my role model was Steve Jobs. I always, tell myself, stay hungry, stay foolish. And that helps me a lot. The quotes from these role models is basically, reflecting their values and how they see the world, how they keep going. And then I caught that phrase. That phrase was in my mind for a very, very long time. I would say, like, for many years, even now. And they want to do more, and don't think that I'm the best. Just keep learning. And then, of course, there are other terms like growth mindset. It's similar, like keep learning and refining. So in terms of a person, I think Steve Jobs, if from a tech space, it is really somebody, his quotes really keep in my mind for a long time.
Again, I love it, because I think you're sharing so much wisdom there. And also I love the fact you're right, role model is a very strong word. And I'm not sure what you feel about this, but I think, as you get wiser, and now say wiser instead of older, but as you get wiser, I think you've got less of a tendency to put people on a pedestal, right? Like, I remember when I was younger, the role model, whoever it was, you kind of, you look up like, wow, and you're a bit in awe. Whereas I think, you can still admire and really tap into achievements of other people and learn, but without kind of feeling they're on a pedestal. I feel like that was a big shift for me. But I love that you say, this is one of the characteristics, I think, of great leaders, business people, entrepreneurs, whatever. It's always learning. That curiosity, for me, I find, is a bit of a hallmark across people who just achieve and are constantly seeking to improve.
Yes.
Sorry, go.
Totally agree with it. Like, when I was a kid, I liked Whitney Houston because I love singing, on that front. But, along the way, you have different people you want to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And now, even I come down to a more realistic way, I feel that I can learn from anybody.
Yep.
Anybody, even, somebody who is cleaning the office, some manner or something, or some observation I have. So I think once we open our hearts and do, like take away this hierarchy or, social status words, you feel that you can learn from so many different things. Even I learned from my cat,
Oh,
when,
tell me,
when
what
she's
lessons have you learned from your cat?
just recently she got sick. Okay, she's an old cat. Cat's age is almost 19.
Yeah.
19. So it's like human age 90 plus, and she got sick. And she rested. She just minimized her actions. And somehow
Mm.
I feel that I don't even learn about this. When I am sick or when I am, I feel myself worn out, I still kept going. So, oh, not even like an animal. I should learn from my cat, when you say rest, just learning from everywhere. I think that's economical and and
Oh,
it's very convenient, isn't it?
oh, I love it though, because I do think you're right. You said open your heart, and I think once you shift where you're always it's that beginner's mindset, isn't it? You can learn from anywhere and anything, and you're so sort of present to that. And I mean, we're laughing. I've also got an old cat. Our cat's the matriarch. She's 18. But I was only listening to a podcast this morning where this woman was talking about we've lost the art of resting. That term of convalescing when you're sick is, in old times gone by, you were sick and then you'd have weeks where you just go and rest and recover. And we've so lost that in this constant striving and pushing through. And I think your cat obviously is smart. She's got a lot to teach us. Hey,
That's why
I've got to,
19.
well, these are it's amazing how often we come back to these topics, right, on this show, no matter who you talk to, about you've got to have that balance and be present. So Judy, thanks for asking a question, Judy. So Judy's asked, have you ever had a manager that wasn't the right fit for you? And if so, how did you get out of it or stay positive when you were in that situation? That's a good question.
I got this question a lot when I do training, especially cross-cultural training. So let's don't put cross-cultural factors in the situation,
Yeah.
but manager I cannot work with. Yes, because when you come into a workplace, actually there are different ways to achieve the same goal also. But I think the key is that whenever I feel that that person approach, it looks like he didn't understand my approach, and whatever I felt obstacles and couldn't really communicate, then I would try to find some ways to communicate, and to make sure that the goals are aligned, and to understand the expectations. So I think asking questions is very important. If that person's culture is open to answering questions, then ask the question, arrange a one-on-one, very honest. I think honesty, sincerity is a universal language,
Mm.
and you're not going there to say, hey, I don't like you being so bossy. Not like that. You just try to ask, and I'm sure you will get something out of it. Even though the reaction might not be something you expected, but you learn something more about that person. And So I think communication is the first step, to let the person know, because the person might not feel the same way. He or she might feel that, oh, we work very well.
And that's so often the case, isn't it? So often the case.
Yes, yes. So one person has to reach out, and of course, when come down to cross-cultural communications, we have to understand that what is the practice of the person's culture. Culture doesn't mean that it's only about your ethnic background. It can be about subculture, different industries, different practice, different industries. People, they act differently. So you understand more, and then try to find a comfortable way to communicate and test. In tech, we have A/B testing,
Yeah.
A and B, and then test whichever way works. And then you learn something more. Yes, it happens to me more than one time. But
Yeah.
find some time to communicate,
I think
and try to avoid just put everything on like email, or just told the other person, not telling your manager. If he or she heard about this from another person, oh, the situation is getting
it
complicated.
gets bad. And as I always say, email is not a form of communication. Um, especially when building relationships. So let's go a bit more into this, because we were joking at the start about how everything you do is cross. For those who've just tuned in, not angry cross, but just cross cultural, cross industry. I mean, that's very much been a mark. So obviously, we talk, Margot, about diversity and inclusion, and so often the diversity conversation is through a gender lens, and it's so much more than that. I mean, you've even just alluded to some there. It's cultures and backgrounds, but it's even going from industries one to the other. And obviously, one of your passions is cultural intelligence as well. So I guess, and everyone's talking about diversity and inclusion as well. What's your perspective on how we can genuinely move the dial to have more inclusive cultures, which I think then support diversity?
I think the first thing that we can control and we can do is on ourselves. Awareness. We have to be aware that no two people in the world, even twins, no two people in the world are identical. So differences is something is a default. So we have to have the awareness, and then it's not just the awareness. And then the next step would be, I think, to put the respect this word into the equation is important. You respect the other culture. You respect differences. Some people, they are different. It's like when put this metaphor, say, bread and noodles, they can still work. It doesn't mean that there's only one formula. and and then look for the beauty of the other side. There must be something good about the other culture. What's good about it? Can I learn from it and cherry pick something from that? I think that is very important, the awareness first. And after your understanding and you have the personality and you have this mindset of respect, and then try to think about something that maybe I can bridge the gap, find a midpoint that the other culture is comfortable, or I'm comfortable with, to start a relationship. The easiest way is if everyone is working in a corporation. It's easier because everyone has a common goal, already in the same corporate culture. Find that common goal. Find, for example, business partners, different cultures. Find that common goal. What's the goal of that business venture? Stick with it and be creative around that. And so it's like the bridging part. And also it evolves a lot of, something related to cultural intelligence. It evolves a lot of strategy. You think, when you collaborating with somebody who's very different from you, don't just be okay, I'm myself, I'm like this, I just do my way. It might not work. Yes, you can do it, but the result might not be something that you want. So if you want to have the result, maybe you have to adjust a little bit. Like what we study film, so acting. You need to have the right script. Say if you're a TV presenter, your script is different from you are a talk show presenter, a talk show or live or stage. So you have to adjust the packaging, but the core message might be the same. So strategy planning, and I think the most important thing is you have to try. And again, coming back to my point, is the action. You have to reach out that person and try, and see if you've learned something more. Reaching out and learn, growth mindset.
Yeah. It's so important. And I love, you said a couple of times as well, be curious, ask questions. Even Jude's question about that manager, ask questions. Like we've got to be curious about what the other person's going through or what's actually happening. But I love also, you just talked then, Margot, about you've got to kind of find that midpoint where people are comfortable. With all your experience and everything you've done, have you ever been in a situation where you've actually had to get comfortable being uncomfortable in a certain situation?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Actually, because I'm a person in the cross zone, okay? So the uncomfortable situations all the time, but which is something I enjoy. It's like some people do sports, go for marathon. Do you think that is very relaxing? It's quite strenuous, tiring, but you kind of enjoy it. So yes, to answer your question, uncomfortable situation all the time. say when my first venture, my startup in China. So when I started that startup in China, tech startup, I was actually the first one. I was basically a Hong Kong person. I was brought up in Hong Kong, so our education is a more Western way of working. So when I went to Shanghai the first time, having a partnership there, it was really uncomfortable. I think at that point, I would use the word cultural shock, totally cultural shock. I thought, okay, I'm going to do something TV, mobile related, and it works like this in Hong Kong. It works like this in the States. How come when I come into this wild East, it's so different? And then I have to work with local partners there, the communication, the system, the policies are very different, absolutely uncomfortable to the point that I thought, shall I just give up? Shall I just give up? But luckily, that was just a question in my mind. And I kept learning because at the same time, the equation is like, you're very uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable in that situation. It's like everything, something took me like supposedly 1 week. It would take me like 1 month plus, it's like
Yeah.
nothing is progressing. But at the same time, during that 1 month, I've learned a lot that actually, when I was in a comfortable place, I couldn't learn. And when I look back at that time, that was very uncomfortable time. It was the biggest decision and the wisest decision I've made. Because of that, I kept doing a lot of cross-cultural thing, business, for international companies going to China because I have tackled that and
Mm.
understanding of that. So I think that fear has to conquer and also put it into a default. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but you enjoy it. Put that mindset in that
Yeah.
will keep going.
I love that because you're right. It does come down to that mindset because it's hard. But I guess this is why not everyone's successful doing the things like what you're doing because it's very easy to give up and say, this is not familiar. I'm so far out of my comfort zone. Do you think in terms of comfort zone and mindset, so I love you were talking before about, when you made that decision to say, you know what, enough for big corporate, it's time to build something of my own, the entrepreneurial journey. And I love how you said, I know that I'll never go back to working for corporate. And I feel the same way. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because it's so much of your life. What do you think? What are the different skills that you've had to draw on in your entrepreneurial journey that you probably were a foundation from your different roles before that? But what are the main differences for you when you kind of contemplate, and I know you work with global execs as well. What do you see as kind of the different skills from being an entrepreneur to maybe working in a big organization?
In general, I think the key skills are similar, but the environment is very different. As an entrepreneur, your world is the world,
Mm.
is the world. Of course, you can identify your market, but you have to create your world. There is no ground for you. You have to create your stage. While whereas you are in a company, you have your desk, you have everything prepared. What you need to do is to perform. It also requires some skills in communicate with colleagues, like entrepreneur. I communicate with my partners. It's similar type of skills, but I think the framework is a little bit different. And also in a big corporation, um, it's like you are entering somewhere.
Mm.
That somewhere already has a set of rules, and people are kind of similar in a way because like maybe the corporate training or some understand corporate culture, so they select people will be a little bit similar.
Yes.
So how you facilitate the communication, how you bring collaboration easier. Maybe you can use some common goals for the company, and then you can factor in some new some tactics, and then you can get things done. But on the entrepreneurial side is that I think the first step is you have to create that environment. So that will take up a lot of time, and I would say the courage, because it is not an easy task. When compared to you go into it's like you go into a restaurant, the food is made for you, versus you go into a market and you have to get the ingredients yourself and think about what is your recipe for tonight and get a kitchen. So you see, it is very different, but the tactics similar. Communication tactics, genuine, you immerse in the environment, try and error, growth mindset, empathy, is all similar.
I love how you frame that, because I'm think as you're talking, I'm thinking about what you're saying, and actually I've never thought about it that way, but I think that's really right. Is that the skills are probably similar, but the framework is very different. And I don't know about you, but that the entrepreneurial journey, like you talked about courage a lot today, and I completely agree, because if there's no one else, and I think having that conviction and all the things you've talked about, the vision, the purpose, the passion, coming back to why you're doing this, I feel like you need that resilience more than ever, because sometimes in a corporate, because as you say, that environment's there, it's kind of easier to slot into that and kind of go along and not really have to think about what I'm going to get from the market tonight. Like, it's all there. So I think this is interesting. I'm curious. So obviously you're also, one of the things that you do is coaching, like you said before, and you're coaching, both global execs and also tech startup CEOs. Are there common themes that when you're working, especially I think, well, either of those, but from a startup, are there common themes across the two, or are there common themes for execs versus startup CEOs that you see?
Yes, I see. They are slightly different in
Mm.
their topic that they really want to explore or to grow. For the execs, mostly they would have questions about how to have a better performance within the organization, and how to be more visible, build confidence within the organization. So very often I would hear some kind of maybe friction between their own vision versus maybe the big picture, the big corporation's vision. So how to align these and how to work better. So a lot of the time we'll be exploring on that front, and how to increase visibility within the organization. And versus coaching tech entrepreneurs, it's very surprising. Sometimes usually they come in with a more specific question. Say, oh, I have a potential investor. What do you think? What do you think? As a, I think entrepreneurs, the basis they have, because they have stepped out as being entrepreneur already. So they are just like warrior. I'm ready to go. I just need the tools. I just need some actual uh, skill sets, how, for me to just walk the next step. So usually they come in with me with very solid questions, and they really want to have solid answers. But sometimes in coaching, um, I don't prefer to give the solid answer in the beginning. I just want to understand them more,
Yeah.
and to ensure that they have well thought about the question. How sure that you want to have an investor at this moment? What are the benefits of having an investor at the moment? What's the pros and cons of it? So, so questions like that. It's slightly different. One
Yeah.
is immediate, like entrepreneur immediate, because every single second they will lose the money. But then I think the executive, they would care a lot about communication, a lot about communication and collaboration, which is another big topic.
Oh, huge. And I
Yeah.
also love what you're talking about there. I think it very much resonates with me, because it also ties back to what you were saying earlier about, you've just got to take the next step. And this is one of the things that you learn when you do it. You've got to go, okay, well, I've got the vision and the strategy, but what's that one next step? And then the next step. But I also love that, I think the best coaches are the ones that don't necessarily give the answer. It's the questions that you're asking. It's that objective person who's testing your thinking. Well, why do you want that? I think that's where clarity comes so often, when you're coaching. Now, I told you before we started that this time would fly by, and here we are at 12:43. At some sort of time vortex here. And I know you've got a jam-packed day as well. So just I feel like we've covered so much ground, Margot. It's been so great. I feel like we need a whole nother chat. But so, is there anything that you'd like to leave with our audience? I mean, I know we've talked about journeys, we've talked about courage, we've talked about visualization, we've talked about curiosity and mindset. Just taking action. Like, there's so much gold there. Is there any final words that you'd like to leave with our community?
Yes. I think very, very important. I really want one takeaway for, everybody here is, yeah, and also it's my own learning, is that I found that immerse yourself into somewhere that you are afraid of, you might have a lot of surprise.
Mm.
Because a lot of times our fear is based on we don't have information, we don't have enough information, or we hear this information from the third sources or from books. But I think personal experience is the most reliable data you can get. So until the time that you immerse into it, you step out, you get some more information, then the fear might be gone. So
There's such
immersion.
great advice. And don't you think often it's all these assumptions which are unproven that we've just kind of made up in our head? So I think that's amazing advice. Thank you so much, Margot. I have so enjoyed chatting to you. And maybe next time you and I can see you there, Donna Ivy, maybe we can get the two of you on together. Now, wouldn't that be a fun conversation with the three of us? Thank
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. All of you out there who I can't see, it's so great to have you with us. Now, as always, you won't be surprised. We have so many great guests still coming up. Tomorrow, I'll be chatting with Kate Harper, who's the director of Vine Partners. She's an amazing trailblazer and entrepreneur. And then on Thursday, we actually have one of my old bosses from a long time ago now, but Marnie Baker is one of the very few female managing directors and CEOs in banking in Australia. And of course, she heads up Bendigo Bank. And we're going to be talking about a whole range of things with Marnie. It's going to be a super conversation as well. And then, of course, this Thursday, for our members out there, of course, we do have our monthly group mentoring sessions. So we've got our express version on Thursday AM. If you haven't been to one of these before, please do use this resource. They are confidential. They're a small group. We talk about anything and everything. We really tap into the collective wisdom of the group, as well as doing some really intentional connecting and networking as well. So you just need to register in the platform. And if you haven't been there before, go there and you can register for all our events. And of course, a big thank you, as always, to our amazing corporate partners. We wouldn't be here without you, and we're so thrilled to continue growing this amazing community with you. Thank you, Margot. Thank you, everyone, and see you tomorrow at 12 for the next show. See you then.
Yeah, Alex, thank you.